Just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. It is a very special episode because as Australians, we've won the World Cup. We are officially world champs. You know, look, let's be honest. Coming into this ranked fourth in the world, almost offensive. But it is what it is. You can rank us wherever you want. We are the world champs. We're the best side in the world. And I will say that came from external rating systems. A lot of the players, I think even Fisher Harris said, look, Australia is still the best side in the world before they played them. Incredible scenes. But as always, guys, brought to you by Milwaukee Tools. It's known for the big lift. When I say they go the big lift, I mean the range they provide gives professional tradesmen the heavy-duty power needed to clear-cut, maintain the outdoors without the need for petrol. No more petrol headaches. No pull starts, no engine maintenance, no mixing petrol and oil. The range of saws, trimmers, blowers, and equipment accessories offer the ultimate reliability and durability for professional tradies to get it done outside. So that's right, guys, whether you're a knockabout bloke that needs to get some work done in the backyard, a tradie, Milwaukee Tools is the way to go. I think you can get them at Total Tools, and I think also potentially Sydney Tools. So just Google Milwaukee Tools near me or Milwaukee Tools Australia. You will see where you can grab them. As I said, guys, very, very proud that Milwaukee Tools has come on board with Bloke in a Bar. And as you guys know, when it comes to brand, like we are so similar and basically stoked that they're on board. So if you need them, they're supporting us, so support them. If you need some tools, get down there, grab some Milwaukee Tools and just get the work done in the backyard, boys. Honestly, you keep looking that the missus is on your back, it's because you won't do your bloody job, mate. Get out there, do the backyard, get it sorted with some Milwaukee Tools, make the wife happy. Seriously, most poignant saying in the history of mankind: happy wife, happy life. And I'm telling you, when I was younger, didn't really believe it. Now I'm older, I believe it. I'm a believer. So get in the backyard, do your chores, boys. Grab some Milwaukee Tools, or girls, if you're in the backyard and you want to do some work. Milwaukee Tools, head there, grab some. They support us, support them. But quickly, bloke soccer jerseys, Wednesday, 6 p.m. They are hot, they are sexy, they're everything you ever needed. Go to our Instagram. Look at Nico, go deep into his eyes, realize that the reason he looks that good is because he's wearing a bloke soccer jersey and not because he's hot all the time. Now, it's 6 p.m. Sydney time, so 5 p.m. Brisbane time. That is Wednesday. There is limited amount. Plus, they are slightly slimmer fit. So basically, they're a normal soccer jersey. People that play soccer would know they're slightly slimmer fit. So if you want to have one that's not as fitted, go a size up, or even if you want it baggy, go up a size again. They're so nice. Honestly, they're perfect for summer. Even if you don't enjoy soccer, I'm telling you right now. I mean, like, look, this is a soccer jersey I'm wearing right now. Like, I didn't even really watch soccer that much, but they're just comfy. They're just comfortable. Seriously, you throw them on. They're durable. They breathe easy. So, bloke soccer jersey, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Sydney time or New South Wales time, 5 p.m. Brisbane time. Limited, and there's very limited, guys. So get there, grab it. We've got brown, we've got white. But let's get into the chat. Let's get into the chitty chat. Australia defeat Samoa 30-10. What an incredible World Cup we've just witnessed. I'm not going to lie. The first few games, I was like, it's great as an opportunity for these nations to get an opportunity to basically show their nation they play rugby league, exposure, all that great stuff. But as we got into those finals games, she ramped right up and I was fully invested. I just think that this World Cup has been an out of this world success. I think that the impact it's had on everyone, whether it's, young kids watching Nathan Cleary fight against the critics and say, hang on a sec, I'm the best halfback in the world. I don't understand. Like, put it this way, Teddy, Munster, even Latrell came out and said, I don't get this chat about Cleary. Like, Teddy said it perfectly. At the start of the tournament, he was the best player in the world. By the end of the tournament or before the World Cup final, all of a sudden he can't play in big games. Absolute nonsense, guys. Nonsense. It is done. It is done. Now, you might be sitting there going, but then haven't you said that he needs to own an origin? That's what we're talking about. If he owns an origin, that's the last piece of the puzzle for greatness, for goatness. That's how far along this guy is. He is a 25-year-old superstar. We'll get into it more in detail because I really want to talk about this in regards to Cleary. Samoa's impact in the world has been honestly inspiring. I think it's almost brought other nations together, which is beautiful. But Guru, the World Cup, how's it been for you, mate?
Yeah, mate, I've loved it. And from a Kangaroos perspective, like, I think people forget that, the last test match that we played before this World Cup was our loss to Tonga, which was, an incredible moment in rugby league. But as a Kangaroo fan, incredibly disappointing at the same time. It was great to see, but it killed me watching the Kangaroos lose like that. So to see them bounce back in this tournament, as you said, Kempy, the fourth in the world coming into this tournament, which was an absolute stitch up. Great to see them sitting back on top of the mountain where they should be.
Timmy, how'd you feel about the World Cup, mate?
Yeah, very proud Australian today, Kempy, and just good that the Aussie underdogs were able to come into this tournament. People gave us no hope, ranked fourth in the world, but we were able to sort of fight against the odds and come out with another title. So very proud of the Aussies, and mate, very proud rugby league fan as well. We put on what was really an unbelievable tournament, and just to see that the bridge gap from 4 years or the last World Cup to now between the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 nations, how tightly that's become, how close across the board I think the World Cup was. The final, there was a little bit of a gap in the eventual scoreline, but some of the tight results we saw, upsets, very nearly a lot of other upsets as well. I think it's a testament to rugby league that 2 years of coming through COVID where there wasn't a lot of rep football and international football to produce a tournament such as this with all the class that there was, it was pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And people will point to the obvious things like Samoa or, England looking a bit better or New Zealand getting close to Australia. But we have to remember, New Zealand squeaked past Fiji and PNG only just lost to Tonga. So you go even a step further and you've got Fiji and PNG. Now, I know PNG in their last game weren't great, but most of the tournament, we've got teams underneath Tonga and Samoa that are nearly there. So you get to a point where there's a chance. Now, I'm not saying it definitely will happen, but there's a chance we go from having, 4 teams that can win it to potentially 6 by the next World Cup. With PNG and Fiji. So from a perspective of like the impact of this World Cup and, all the naysayers saying, it'll never work and there's such a big difference. Like, I disagree. Think about it. Like, if Fiji get a call, they knock New Zealand out of the World Cup and play Australia in the World Cup. If at the start of the tournament, PNG get a few calls their way, they may be sitting in the group in a different place, also much more confident, much more energetic heading into that final game. England, like, they get a call or two, they are in the grand final. Like, it's just it's incredible what this World Cup has done, and I believe it's exceeded our expectations. I really do. From a football perspective, I believe it's exceeded our expectations.
And as you said, Kempy, at the start of this World Cup, I had 4 teams that I thought could win it. Samoa wasn't one of them. So, once again, that's expanded out to 5 now. Like, I'm going to look at Samoa completely differently, to be honest with you, what I have for the last 6 years, essentially.
Oh, mate, the Samoa story. I will say this. I'm going to let everyone in a little secret. It was absolutely stinging me seeing Aussies say that I don't mind if Samoa wins. I'm just going to say it. Boom, put it on the table. It was stinging me. And then I was like, maybe I'm too passionate about my country or Australia or whatever. I understand where they were coming from, like, because it is such a good narrative. It's so good for rugby league from a perspective of like purely rugby league. But when I was reading those comments and that, I was like, bruh, what's going on? Are you Australian or not? Get behind the boys. But outside of that, I understand the reasoning for saying something like that, because the impact of Samoa. I mean, we had The Rock sending videos. We had, I think it's the Dolphins, one of the NFL players sending videos saying, let's go. We had, I think it was in Goodna, one of the craziest gatherings of Samoans to celebrate. I mean, they had a bloody police escort. We're talking about a country that has 200,000 people living on it currently, according to the latest data. It's amazing. It's been such a good World Cup. Now, but let's get into the game quickly. Let's get straight into the game. I think that I'm like almost a bit, I feel like a negative Nancy, because we won and I thought the boys' defense was fantastic. But I also think, put it this way, essentially, I think it was the second last try when we went right to Cleary, left to Munster, inside Tedesco. I nearly climaxed. Because I was like, finally, Cleary and Munster have had long enough to play together to put stuff like that on. That was a try purely from structure, from picking teams apart with making space where space needs to be made, by understanding certain marks. It wasn't a try from Latrell just going absolutely nuts and bouncing someone, or Addo-Carr's incredible speed, or strength from Liam Martin. It was a try from people playing together. So what is great for Australia is we won the World Cup, but I don't think we're even close to where we can be with Nathan Cleary, Munster, Tedesco, and Benny Hunt. I want to get into more detail about that setup as well, because it's a really interesting dynamic that I'd love to explain. But Guru, am I being a negative Nancy and we should just focus on the win? What's going on?
No, mate, I agree with you, and I understand people get upset because we are nitpicking a little bit, but I mean, it is genuinely the first time throughout this entire World Cup where they scored a team try where I sat there and went, that's the Kangaroo standard. That's what we've been expecting of our teams for the last 40, 50 years. So I agree with you, mate. And I love on that play, and I'm sure you'll talk about it more, but from the TV view, you could see it was going to happen, and you knew there was no way to stop it. You just knew that when it was going to go through those 4 sets of hands, even when Teddy first touched it, he wasn't even through the hole yet, and you knew they're not going to get anywhere near him here. It was just, it's the first time we've seen that spine link up like that, and it was very Smith, Slater, Cronk-esque. It was that classic play that we haven't really seen something like that in a Kangaroos jersey for quite some time, whether it be COVID or whatever it is. But it was great to see them finally link up and really look like a true Kangaroo side.
Yeah, and it's so unfair because I'm constantly watching the Australian side going, well, the standard is Smith, Slater, Lockie, Thurston, Cronk, Thurston. That's the standard. And we got so used to these guys tearing teams apart when they wanted to, that it's unfair to almost put that pressure on a new spine, a completely new spine. What about you, Timmy? Do you feel like, although the boys were incredible in defence, I want to talk about that as well, because we'll talk about that in a sec. But do you feel like we're not even scratching this? Well, we're not close to where we can be in future years.
Definitely, mate. This side there's so much more upside to what they can become once they get more and more time on ground. And, you boys beat me to it. But as soon as that try was scored, it was just Smith, Slater, Cronk. How immaculately they used to put these plays together, the outside in, back inside to Slater as the fullback. The way they put that together was just poetry in motion when it comes to rugby league. And a lot of what Australia did through this tournament was superstars making superstar plays that you touched on with Latrell and Teddy and Fox and these sorts of things. But it's that sort of craft and picking sides apart that I think the pure footy fans are sitting there going like, this is what we have a podcast about, to talk about the intricacies of the game and the way they pull sides apart. And it's mastering rugby league to me.
Oh, man, absolutely. And even the tiny details that you may have missed, RCG gets on his knees so the ball can go over his head. That is just, bellissimo. Beautiful stuff. Now, I want to talk about the spine. It's something that, I was kind of feeling going into it, but I didn't give it enough credit. So I went back and, had a look just at the last generation that kind of came through, and it was obviously the Queensland generation, that spine of Queensland, essentially. And I looked at it and I was like, you know what's interesting about that was there was always a clear path of hierarchy. So, it would go Lockyer, and then he'd pass it on to Thurston, and then maybe Thurston to Smith, and then Smith to Cronk, or whatever. Smith stayed on. What I'm saying is there was a clear path of who the guy was that was leading the players around. And I thought it was when I looked at Cleary and we were going, okay, some of the, there was probably 2 games where you're he doesn't really look like he's stamping his authority on the game the way he does in Penrith. But then I took a step back and I go, hang on a sec. Cleary coming into this tournament, and look, when you watch players, we're all guilty of it, and it's only natural. But we watch players on TV, and they become larger than life. They stop becoming people, and they start becoming ideas in our head of something bigger than a normal person. We don't think they're not human, but we put them up on a pedestal and go, wow, greatness. But you have to remember, he was 24 coming into this camp. This is a 24-year-old. So when he was 15, 16, he was watching Ben Hunt, Munster, Tedesco, all these guys tear up the NRL. So he's going into a squad with his seniors. And so to expect Cleary to just walk in and go, boys, this is the way I'm doing it, especially when Tedesco is the captain, it's impossible. He's a human being that respects hierarchy. It's why, his humbleness is why he's so loved by so many people, is because he doesn't get ahead of himself. He's not too big for his boots. Like, even after he'd won the World Cup, he was like, oh, mate, still got a lot to do. And he didn't sound like he was just lip service. And so I think that didn't get enough credit, where if you're on the field with James Tedesco and he calls the ball or takes a scoot, are you going to go over to him and say, oh, fuck, when I say get the fucking ball, rah. Whereas when we look at the yesteryear, when Lockyer says to Smith or to Slater, oi, we're getting right there. Or when Smith says to Cronk or to Slater or to Thurston, oi, we're getting right there. The hierarchy is clear. And I even read a few articles where they said by the end of the tournament, Cleary was talking a lot more in meetings and saying what he wanted and what he didn't want. And that's just a natural progression. So for people that expected Cleary just to walk straight in and run that side like Penrith, they're not appreciating. This is a 24 just turned 25-year-old showing respect to his elders and people that have been there before him. And also, you could argue, like, okay, Teddy's the captain, but is Munster the man? Is Benny Hunt the man? Like, it's a really interesting dynamic. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on I guess that, and I guess how you felt Cleary answered the critics in the grand final.
I also think something that we need to consider off the back of that, Kempy, is like, you go back to 2006, and me and Matty spoke about this the other day, the Anzac Test. That was Andrew Johns' last Test match and Danny Badiris' last Test match. From that day until essentially the day Billy Slater retired, the entire spine has been Queenslander. Whether it was Billy Slater, Darren Lockyer, Thurston, Cronk, whoever these guys are. So for the last 15 years of Test match footy, whenever we get to a Tri-Nations or a World Cup, you've got this spine. The vast majority of them are playing club football together. The rest of them are playing rep football together. So they get 6 weeks smack in the middle of the season, get all their structures, get used to each other. This team, this Kangaroos team, you think about it, you got the 2 hookers, they're Queenslanders, the 5'8's are Queenslander, the halfbacks are blue and the fullbacks are blue. None of them play in the same football team except for Harry Grant, who plays 30 minutes off the bench, and Cam Munster. Like, we haven't been in this situation as a Kangaroo side in a very long time, which is unbelievable to think about. And this is why the three of us were so big on, why aren't we playing our Fulls team? Why aren't we playing our best spine now? Because they need all the time in the world to get themselves ready. You also think about, and as you mentioned, Nathan Cleary, 24-year-old coming into this camp. Normally when you come into a World Cup camp, you might be one of 4 debutants. He was one of 13.
Yeah.
Like, it's an unprecedented situation off the back of COVID, where you've got so many debutants in this side. A 24-year-old halfback coming in to lead this team with a 5'8", he's never played a game of football with. A hooker, he's never played a game of football with. 2 hookers, he's never played a game of football with. It's a pretty unique situation. I do just think we need to take that into consideration as well, obviously.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just to add on to your point, not only were it the Queenslanders playing together, they were under the Storm system. Yep. Like, that Queensland side played like the Storm. Like, it's that simple. And so, like, obviously Lockie would bring his, touches into it or whatever, but he fell into, okay, well, if I'm going to be the leader, let's play this kind of way. And so they had so much time to play together. I actually think I don't think Cleary's going to get enough appreciation. I know people are saying that he played really well in the grand final. He was personally my man of the match, just pipped Tedesco, in my opinion, even though Tedesco was outstanding. But I just thought the weight of expectation, the way he finished the game, I just gave it to Cleary. But I actually think that he deserves even more raps for his ability. What did he end up playing? 4 full games? And by the end of the 4th full game in a World Cup at Old Trafford, with massive pressure on him, like articles coming out saying he's been a dud, blah, 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 at Old Trafford. And it's not just like Old Trafford to him, he's a soccer fan as well, is massive deal. He comes out and puts on a performance like that. Like, I just think it's incredible. It's a testament to, we're watching greatness. We are truly watching greatness. Honestly, even if he doesn't go on to have his Origin series like Joey did 2005, Freddie, rah, even if he doesn't do that, he's still one of the best 7s to play the game, in my opinion. Like, I can't, unless he gets injured or he just completely checks out, I can't see a world where this guy doesn't win at least another premiership, multiple Origin series, 24 25 years old, and he just turned 25. It's incredible. This guys, just whether you love him or hate him, I don't know how you could hate Cleary, but whatever. Sit back and realize that we are in greatness right now. We're sitting in. It's like when we used to watch Joey, or when Lockie was coming through, you kind of take it for granted. You're sitting there going, "Oh yeah, how good's Lockie?" Right. You don't realize that you're watching greatness until it's gone. Even the Queensland 8 in a row, like I feel like we didn't appreciate it enough because you're sitting there going, that will never happen again." Timmy, what do you reckon about the whole situation?
Yeah, mate. And despite all the phenomenal external pressure that was on him to come in here and be the best player in the tournament and dominate and lead us to victory, as I said, when he was coming into the tournament at 24 years old, at least to the public eye, he didn't even know if he was going to be the starting 7 in the big games. It was all Cleary v DC and all of that, let alone he has to come in his debut test and try and steer them to victory and be the hero and do all of these things. And the other thing we forget is that, as I said, when you talk about his age, most football players, and especially halves, who need to learn the art of getting a team around the park, and as you said, Kempy, that natural progression of leading, elder players, people that have more experience than you, that you have to do as a halfback. You don't peak as a half until your late 20s. I would love to hear all the best, the Cooper Cronk, Joey Johns, all these blokes talk about, when do you think you played your best footy and when do you think you really learnt the game? I think they'd all say, 29, 30 years old, they would all definitely say that they didn't master or get close to mastering the art of the craft of playing halfback and getting a side around until they retired, and you're always learning that. So Cleary, the best is still to come from him, and I'm very confident in saying that. And as far as this Australian team goes, as you said, Kempy, he's got the cohesion with him now. He has games under the belt with this side, and we've got a lot of exciting football to come with that bloke.
The play that stood out for me with Cleary was when Angus Crichton got the ball out the back. Stephen Crichton came up and put a really good shot on him. And you could see Nathan Cleary, he was a dummy half the play before in front of the sticks, and he sprinted round to the other side of the ruck and he knew he had Latrell there, and he just went, I just need to put him in that space where Stephen Crichton should be. And it was the first time I've gone, okay, he owns this fucking team. That's something that Joey would have done. Joey would have identified that defender was out of the line in the play of the ball. That's where the ball needs to go right now. And he didn't have to do too much, but he had to put himself in the right spot and get the ball there as quickly as he possibly could. And they were never going to stop Latrell.
Even then, he played pretty deep into the line. There were blokes turning hips in. I think was it Milf? Milf turned his hips in maybe straight to him. It's like Cleary, after sprinting to the other side of the field, he drew in defenders. Like, it wasn't just a simple see it, give him the ball. He had a lot to do.
It was great to see him finally own that team.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree, boys. And I was screaming, I'd see him, kick it, God, fuck, kick it, because it was a fifth tackle. I'm screaming, pressure, build the fucking pressure. What do I know about rugby league? The thing is that wasn't fucking third play. That wasn't third play where, let's try something. That's start of the game. If he hits Latrell there and Latrell gets tackled, fuck me, Cleary, you're one of the best kickers we've ever seen. Put it in the fucking in goal and get a repeat set. But he had the confidence at Old Trafford in his first ever World Cup, his fourth game for Australia, to take as you said, Guru, to say, I'm wrapping round and I'm making a fucking play, and I'm happy to take the negative, whatever happens with it. He was outstanding. Some of his defense too has been really good. He's so impressive. I love watching him play. It's actually funny. So I got to watch it on my big screen this time. Usually I have to watch it on my phone because I'm a really good husband that takes my wife places.
Oh, this poor guy. Don't you feel for him traveling around Europe watching on his phone?
Yeah. It's been tough. And hopefully the wife appreciates, how well I've treated her. Anyway, so I got to this time, I was like, to the wife, look, it's the grand final. You need to go and get your nails done. Have a good time. I'm going to put it on the TV. Sit back and enjoy it. Anyway, so I'm fucking yelling at TV. Go, you fucking mad dog. Yelling at TV. As I walk out after the game, the people next door walk out at the same time, and they were looking at me what the fuck is wrong with this guy? So I was into it, loving it. What another thing I love about the World Cup is that it gives us an opportunity to love players from other clubs. Perfect example. How many people fucking love Jackie Whiten and Liam Martin right now? Two players like Jackie Whiten, honestly, I am a believer to the nth degree now. As I said last week, there was a time there where I was like, he's a good player, but is he that tippity top cream of the crop kind of guy. And I just think not only this Origin series that he didn't get selected for Game 3, but sorry, boys, I won't bring that up. Not only the Origin series, but this World Cup for me has just cemented that it doesn't matter where you... And to be fair, for Game 3, I did say they should have Jackie White on the bench, but doesn't matter where you have him. He is being your... He could play front row. Seriously, that's how much faith I have in Jackie White. And I know it sounds crazy. I'm not saying start front row. I'm saying come on and get the job done. I thought he was incredible. Liam Martin. It's just gives you like, I think we forgot that feeling of like, oh, I can actually really like this player that plays for Penrith or plays for Eels or plays for whoever it is. And I just loved watching that and seeing people react that way. Who was your, I guess, unsung hero this World Cup?
I'll just jump in quickly. Not just clubs, but Origin as well. Like, it's the first time as a Blues fan I can really sit back and enjoy watching Cameron Munster when I really want to enjoy him all the time. So it's a great point you bring up.
Point. That's a great point. Like seeing the mad dog do his thing, stripping, fucking doing all this, just breaking games apart. And usually you're sitting there going, "Fuck me, stop doing that, Munster." Whereas now you can be like, "Go, you mad dog!"
Exactly,
mate. I think for me, my unsung hero is the other guy you spoke about, Liam Martin. We've been banging on this podcast for so long about just how good Liam Martin is and how underappreciated he is. Man of the match in the semi-final. I was talking to Matty before. Matty said that he would have given him man of the match in the grand final, which I can understand. He was sensational. He was in my top 2, top 3 players. So to see Liam Martin finally get some recognition, I don't know how it evades him so consistently for so long. But when I think about his last, 3 big games, the NRL Grand Final, he was tremendous. I think he played himself into this team off the back of that to then get man of the match in the semi and to be one of the best players on the field in the Grand Final. He's my unsung hero, mate. I love watching Liam Martin.
Oh, I agree, 100%. Matter of fact, I'll go as far to say as he wasn't in my starting 13. It was Cam Murray, Angus Crichton, and Isaiah Yeo at 13. And I would, honestly, it would be one of my most staunch selections where I wouldn't even consider budging, even though he was outstanding in the grand final and he had a good final series as well. But now I'm like, as we discussed, we were all a bit Cam Murray off the bench. Yeah. But I have to say, Mal Meninga, and when we identified it a few weeks ago, the idea of like, okay, yes, Cam Murray is a great player, and yes, you do probably want him on for 80 minutes, but the impact he can have through the middle is fucking invaluable, and he proved it 2 games in a row with huge plays. And so Liam Martin, just amazing. And he's such a mongrel. He had some big hits again in the grand final. It's just, he's going to be a player that is almost, those like really, not cult hero because he's bigger than that, but those mongrels that we love, and we just know he's almost like a clean mongrel. He doesn't really get involved in any too much of niggle unless you watch some of the Origin stuff, but I won't get into that as a Queenslander.
He's the sort of guy, Kempy, that I think if this Australian squad was picked the week before the NRL Grand Final and Liam Martin wasn't in it, I don't think too many people would have been upset. I really don't. It was after the grand final that everything turned. I remember having conversations with heaps of followers that didn't have Liam Martin in their squad, not their 17, their squad, because there was so many classy back rowers going into it. You remember, like, there was all the talk about Sean Lane, Hudson Young, all these sort of guys that... Nanai, yeah, all these people, like, a lot of us had them in front of Liam Martin, and I think it was after the grand final. I think he genuinely played himself into this squad and then somehow played himself into the starting side to move Cam Murray to the bench. It's incredible.
Timmy, who was your unsung hero?
I think the one for me, and it was similar to Maddie's point of like, probably more along the lines of someone that I could appreciate because we were outside of NRL level, and it's Val Holmes being a Queenslander who, it's like,
so
you get brought up to say you dislike people or teams or whatever it might be. You don't hate them, but I hate Queensland. So to be able to watch the guy like Cam Munster and Val Holmes, and just to be able to appreciate of how good they are. Val Holmes, I think because our left edge of Latrell and Fox was so dominant, they got a lot of the accolades, and the talk was all about that, and rightly so. The right edge, Val and Jackie Whiten didn't have probably as much ball, but they had a few moments. But Val Holmes, he's just turned into such a complete outside back. And when I say turned into, he has been for a long time. We know this, but he just doesn't make mistakes. His defensive read just about every single time is sublime. He doesn't fall off tackles. He can switch between wing, centre and fullback and be one of the best in the world at any of those three positions. On top of that, he's a tremendous goal kicker. Val, my appreciation for him this World Cup went to a whole new level. He was brilliant.
Oh, mate, I totally agree. The amount of tough carries, like what I loved about the side is you had Latrell and Fox, who were it's funny, I think Wayne used to be like this at the Broncos, where we'd have one side that was just strike, like just absolute incredible strike. And then you had this other side that had strike in them, but just get through the dirty work. And I just think the White and Holmes, they had as much impact on the World Cup, in my opinion, as Latrell and Addo-Carr. But it's impact that you're not going to see on the highlight reels. Like, for example, Samoa had us under pressure. Who was the bloke that sprinted back to the 20, hit Val Holmes on that short ball? It was Jackie White into Val Holmes. And that's something that, like, these are the little 1%ers. Like, Val Holmes doesn't have to be there. If he's not there and Jackie White takes that hit up, everyone just goes, oh, mad hit up from Jackie White. And the play goes on. He takes a scoot after that. But he hit that ball like he was already calling for it, like it was a set play. And now maybe it was. Maybe at training they had sat down and said, if there is a quick 20, centers and wingers, you must be there. That turned the game on its head. And I'm not saying that Samoa would have gone on a win, but I tell you what, if they had got the 40-20 call, which they should have got, and Jackie Whiten doesn't make that play, what's the score? Is it 30-10? I don't think so. I think that
there was one Kempy. Sorry to cut you off, mate.
That's right.
In a similar regard with Val, and I'm pretty sure it was in the semi against the Kiwis, but I had to jot it down, didn't speak about it. Might have been the quarter, but I'm pretty certain it was against the Kiwis. And Val, I think, a bomb went up and he was sort of up in the line and he flew back because it was Teddy's to catch. You know, Teddy drops one in about 4,000 bombs. And I can't remember if he let it bounce or if he went to take it and it bounced backwards or something. But for whatever reason, Teddy stuffed it up. And Val had come a mile off his wing just to be there, just in case Teddy stuffed it up. He saved a play, saved a try, and just, as you said, such an enormous turning point in that game. But little things that just go completely overlooked.
Yeah, absolutely. And take it back to Origins. Sorry, boys, but I think you did a chip, and it looked like New South Wales scoring for sure, and the game would have been completely different. Val Holmes did one of the best pickups I've ever seen on a footy field, just sliding in and getting clattered by like three Blues players and holding onto the ball. He's just that, as you talked about it perfectly, Timmy, it's like he was a superstar before he left, but now he's rounded out his game to be like, I'm a class above, plus I'll give you all those 1%ers, all those 1%ers that usually battlers give you. Usually the selling point for a battler is, I'm not going to make mistakes, I'm going to get through a ton of work. Whereas Val Holmes is going to go, I'm going to give you that. Plus, there's more. I'm a superstar. It's incredible. Incredible stuff.
Can I just throw in one other guy, Kempy's sort of underappreciated, undervalued, and we've been speaking about it for 2 years, but it happened once again. I was looking through, I can't remember which publication it was, but they went through and they named each player for the Kangaroos and gave them a rating for their World Cup. Whoever it was, Isaiah Yeo got a 7.5, right? When you have a look at Isaiah Yeo's last 2 weeks, so this is semi-final and final, he made 86 tackles with 0 miss and ran for 300 metres. Can you imagine if a debutant or a young guy would have come in and done that? They would have got a 9 out of 10, but we are so used to what Isaiah Yeo does week in, week out that we just take it for credit constantly. Me and Matty were talking about this earlier today. It's the same as, you know, if James Tedesco does what he does every single week, it's an 8. But if a young guy comes in and plays the same game as Teddy, it's a fucking 11. Yeah. With Isaiah Yeo, we just sleep on him constantly. I couldn't believe the 7.5.
Well, this is even crazier, and I think it's correct. He didn't miss a tackle all tournament.
Yeah.
And he averaged over 40 tackles a game.
And does that surprise anyone? Like, honestly, like, it's Isaiah Yeo. This is what he does.
Oh, mate. And the amount of tough cat, like, he doesn't take the, like, quick play the ball, I'm out the back, I'm getting a tip on from a front rower. He takes some of the shittest hit-ups you can take. And every time he splits the line, like, I don't care what anyone says. There's not a soul on this earth that when they first saw Isaiah Yeo come into grade would develop into such a complete 13. Like, if he keeps this form up, like, is he getting up there like with some of the better 13s? Like I'm not going to put him in with the goats or whatever, but fuck me, back-to-back premierships, World Cup wins, part of the record win by New South Wales. Now he has a long way to go in regards to putting all the stats up, but fuck me, I'll put it this way: you pick your best 13 on their best day, chuck Isaiah Yeo on his best day. He'd hold his own at the very least, in my opinion. Like, if he plays his best, which he has been playing for a few years now, plus he's so consistent. Like, tell me, over the last few years, have you ever seen Isaiah Yeo play a bad game or negatively impact a game? Like,
just to clarify,
mental.
it was not miss a tackle in the finals of the World Cup. So, like, the last 3 games.
Wow.
The last 3 games. That's crazy.
Yeah, he missed 1 tackle against Italy in 5 games.
No. The stat man missed something. The stat man's fucking chucked it on there, thinking it was like, yeah, you know why? Because all the fucking numbers are all fucked up. It was bloody one of the wingers that missed a tackle, and it's gone on Isaiah Yeo's record. He could have broken a record. First bloke ever to not miss a tackle. Can we just talk about these numbers? Because I'm telling you, it fucking made me furious. You want to talk about ruining a viewing experience? It is honestly one of the worst content decisions I've ever seen in my life. The amount of times I didn't know who the fuck was running the ball, and we're talking about, I don't know about you guys, but like I watch rugby league as much as anyone, and I'm sitting there going, oh, who was that? Or who's that? Who's in that position? If they ever do this again, we should all riot. Put it that way. We should all riot. You know what? If they do this again, we should storm the Australian Rugby League capital.
Kempy, I'm keen as fuck to lay the shoe in over this, but I'm just going to take you back to Isaiah Yeo for a quick second. How many games do you reckon he played at lock before 2020 in his career?
Oh, no. Maybe 4 or 5?
9 games. So he only started playing in his best position 3 years ago, and he's already the best in the game at it. Can you imagine? Like, he's been playing first grade since 2014 or something. Can you imagine if he would have come straight into first grade and gone straight to the lock position? Like, he's played more games at second row than he has at lock in his career. It's if he would have started from the very start at lock and like had that extra 5 years to really own that position, it's scary what he could have achieved.
He played a bit of centre too early on, didn't he?
He played 25 games as centre, 90 games in the back row before he became a lock. So he played 100 games at first grade before he found his position.
And it's just incredible about his series is I don't even think they used his ball playing close to what they usually do. So he said, okay, there's a different setup. Teddy obviously gets involved quite a lot around the ruck there. I'm going to deliver something. Like, talk about a well-rounded player where you can go, oh, my biggest weapon that has won us 2 premierships in a row, 3 grand finals in a row. I'm just going to put that in the pocket and I'm going to give you something else. It's incredible.
And just to add on to that, when he was playing in the back row, he played 90 games, won 48, lost 42. When playing lock, 77 games, he's won 64 and lost 12.
Jesus.
That's outrageous. Incredible. Outrageous. Now let's talk about Big Trelly Mitt Nato Carr. Oh, man, Bella Fox. Talk about showstoppers. Talk about, it was almost poetic in the sense that a few weeks ago we discussed how, Addo-Carr isn't the bigger body, but he offers you something else that bigger bodies can't offer you, and it's absolutely electric speed. And some people like to say, oh, yeah, but he's only fast. It's like, okay, Manu Vadavai was only big. Like, what are we talking about here? It's a good thing. Addo-Carr, his tournament has been absolutely electric. I think it's been one for the ages for a winger. Maybe, Val Holmes' last World Cup, you could say he was as good as. I just think that Addo-Carr, the things that he did this World Cup, the excitement that he brought, if you could put in the dictionary like classical winger, it would be Addo-Carr's World Cup series, because even like to break the game open the way he did, give the ball to Teddy. He's going for the record. He's going for the record of tries, but he says he most likely would have gassed Suoliti on the outside, but he gives it to Teddy the way he did. The Fox is a superstar. He's one of my favourite wingers of all time. He's right, in my opinion, he's right up there with Wendell for me. Wendell's probably still the GOAT, maybe. I don't know. I think he's one of the better wingers of all time in Addo-Carr, and I think he's proven it over and over again. Thoughts on the big trelling mitten Addo-Carr?
Just to show on Addo-Carr just how good his World Cup was, if you break down the numbers, during this World Cup, he averaged 2 tries per game. He averaged 184 metres per game, 7 tackle breaks and 2.5 line breaks per game. Now, keep in mind, he only scored 1 try in the last 2 weeks as well. But he set up a few. I mean, he set up that try for James Tedesco. He also set up one for Angus Crichton that you thought was going to be a try for all money that was knocked on at the last second. Can be, as you said a few weeks ago, and I know it's hard to compare him and Wendell because they're such different wingers. Like, they're not... It's almost like they played 2 different positions based on how differently they played the position. So it's impossible to compare these guys. But, mate, you said it a few weeks ago that he might be one of the greatest wingers of all time. I'm not sure how many wingers could have achieved what he's achieved at this World Cup. I know they don't give a player of the tournament, or maybe they'll do it. Maybe they do, and they'll do it over the next few weeks, knowing how it's all played out. But could you possibly argue that anyone was better than him at this World Cup?
I thought he was hands down the best player at the World Cup, and I cannot believe I'm saying that about a winger because I never thought I would. But the difference between what Fox did to any other winger is that he did half his mad shit through the middle of the field, and he was like, he came in looking for it, and it was doing like a fullback's work essentially, and getting involved and setting up tries and carving him through the guts. So it's like he was more than he didn't just score his tries on the end of a back line and diving over. Like, he did, nearly every one of his tries were unbelievable. Ran the field a few times. I think it was definitely the player of the World Cup, and considering Australia didn't play earlier in the year, pretty unlucky for Golden Boot.
And like, you have a look at that try that he scored against New Zealand, which I personally think we were reasonably lucky to get away with a win in that game. Is there any other winger in the history of rugby league that would have scored that try of catching that Ben Hunt bomb on the full at top pace to get there? Like, that was incredible.
Not only that he pulled it off, but nearly every winger I've ever seen sees that kick go up and it becomes a defensive play, and they go, oh, I will wait and hold back just a touch and whack Geordie Rapana as he catches, do the right thing, what the coach probably wants to go. He's just gone nut. Just backed himself to fly onto it and take it and score one of the more important tries of his career.
And you could tell that Jordan Rapana was going, oh, well, fuck it, he won't catch it.
Yeah.
He'll just deal with it once it bounces. Then he just took it on the full. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's had an incredible series. And what's crazy is we're not even talking about his best try. Matty Burton through the legs, back inside, kicks it on his bad foot, so he should be grubbing it out. It somehow stays in, and the Buller Fox gets there. Incredible stuff from Josh Addo-Carr. And I think, like, I know it's a long time away and all that kind of stuff, but as we viewed on the social media, the energy that he was bringing, on the field, the energy that he was bringing, like, the Aussies are, we'll get into this now actually, like, there was talk about, the Aussies aren't as passionate. The Aussies aren't as passionate as Samoa. And it's like, they're different cultures that express themselves differently. But you watch Fox run out there, you telling me he's not as passionate as any player in the whole World Cup? Come on now. So I think that, like, what I do really loved about the Australians' performances, like really loved, was, as I said, there was a lot of chat about, like, because Australia are the big dog side, everyone was behind Samoa, and Australia doesn't have the same passion and they don't care about it as much, and Aussies this, that, and the next thing. I thought they represented us Aussies perfectly because they made errors, especially in that second half. They completed 50%. But what do Aussies do? We're battlers in defence. We battle all day. We take care of the things that are the tough things. That's what's being Australia is about, is being there for your mate. Always, whenever your mate needs you, you turn up. Every time there was a break, how many green and gold jersey did you see streaming across? In normal games, there would have been 3 or 4 line breaks by Samoa and potentially a try. First one, I think it was Harry Grant, comes flying across and jams maybe Palame over the edge. The second one, Tedesco times it perfectly, stays back, sees the line break, tracks Jerome Luai and waits for the perfect time to hit Luai as he gets the ball and jams him over the sideline. I thought that, as everyone knows this in this podcast, I have such admiration for the Samoan side, the passion they showed or whatever, but I think Australia was just as passionate and showed what Australia was all about. And that's being there for your mates and never backing down, especially in defence. I thought Australia it was their best defensive effort by a mile, and they represented our country. Couldn't be more proud of the way they represented it. Guru?
Yeah, I agree, mate. And I know we've already spoken, man, but I thought Liam Martin, he just personified that this entire World Cup. You mentioned too, Josh Adokar, like on the field and off the field. Mate, I've spent the last 6 weeks watching every bit of content that's coming out of the Kangaroos hotel, waiting for Josh to jump out of a fucking cupboard, watch him jump out from around a corner, jump in from a window. It has been unreal. And you were really heavy on it, to your credit, Kempy, during the Origin series, that Fox is one of those guys that even if there's another guy that you can select that might be as good or better during the game, it's the energy that he brings during the week and all that sort of stuff. And fuck, if it's not evident how important he was throughout that 6 weeks over in England, I don't know what more to say.
Yeah, he has, again, I know it's a while away, but put him in permanent marker. He's on the sting. He's on the pick and swing for New South Wales. And as we've discussed, that is no knock on the absolutely incredible wingers New South Wales have to select from, but he's got to be one of your first picked. Thoughts, Timmy, in regards to, I guess there was a bit of chat about Australia not being as passionate, rah-rah. Were you as proud as I was in regards to the way they carried themselves as, what Australia's all about?
Oh, of course, mate. And it's, they're the big dogs of the tournament. They're always going to get going in as pretty heavy favourites, a lot of criticisms in just about every single different area that you can. But, they might not be as vocal as some other nations and celebrating what look as passionate ways, but they wanted to win that tournament just as much as anyone else out there. And, while on field they probably weren't, as we spoke about, as clinical as we'd hoped they'd be, they were so professional in just every asset, every little nook and cranny of their footy was so professional on and off the field. There was a tight semi-final, but I thought we got through the tournament pretty comfortably. And just on Fox, I think it's so exciting now that a new element to his game has cropped up of playing in through the ruck. I can't wait to see what Cameron Ciraldo gets out of him, because we've seen him dominate on the wing for many years and he'll continue to do so, but I think we're going to see a new part of his game off the back of the success at the World Cup.
Yeah, agreed. And to be honest, if I'm more convinced that he probably could be a captain. Whereas before I was like, I want him to be the rogue, I want him to be that, but I kind of feel like, how could you not pick him now after the impact he's had on the, is there a way to so he doesn't have to deal with all the bullshit press conferences or whatever? Is there a way to just keep him happy all the time? I don't know, but just amazing. Let's talk about Big Trelly Mid. Bruh. How many times does he have to do it? How many times does he have to just go, I'm going beast mode and flipping a game on its head through pure... And it was almost poetic. Like Suoli'i, the game's next big superstar. Big, tall, strong, absolutely skittling blokes all tournament. And Big Trelly Mitt goes, look, you are the game's next superstar, but I'm OG, baby. I'm the OG at 25 years old. See, Trelly Mitt's almost like, I've been there, but I'm still the big dog around here, baby. Big bump off. Suoli'i goes down. Try time. And then Trelly Mitt getting up, just doing these ones like, oh my God, I went off in my room. It's bizarre because Trell Mitt, in my opinion, Latrell Mitchell, is one of the greatest centers of all time, period, bar none. Bar none. He's up there with Inglis for me. If I had to select Inglis versus, put it this way, if there was a game that said Inglis versus Latrell, I don't know who would get the upper hand. That's how good he is as a center. If you go back and look at some of the stuff he has done at center, it is just absolutely phenomenal. He turns game on his head. And we often, Greg Inglis, obviously, right now, for me, he's still the greatest outside back of all time. I think he's the greatest outside back, not fullback specifically or whatever. To be honest, he might be one of the greatest players in regards to he could literally play any position. But I just think that because Latrell Mitt is a bit more polarizing or whatever, he still probably maybe doesn't get put in that conversation, but I think the jury is out. I would back Latrell Mitchell against any centre that's ever played the game. Maybe not to win, but I wouldn't be betting against him. That's for sure. Am I going crazy here, Guru? What do you reckon?
No, I don't think so, mate. And I actually, I agree. I think Latrell Mitchell is the best centre in the world right now, hands down. I don't think there's any question about that. And I don't think there's an opposing centre anywhere in the world that's a big enough challenge for Latrell. I would love to put him one-on-one, as you said, with GI. And I know people get upset when you compare GI to Latrell, but when I do it, I'm complimenting Latrell. It's not in a negative fashion at all. And similar to GI, Latrell just sits there and goes, mate, talk shit all you want about me. When the bright lights are on, I'm going to fuck everyone up. And once again, he stands and he delivers in another big moment. And it makes you realise once again, he's 25 doing these things. When he was doing these things in a grand final 3 years ago, he was a 20-year-old. And, as I said, there isn't a challenge out there that's big enough for Latrell at centre, so I'd love to bring GI back. In my opinion, when Latrell was doing those things, probably the biggest challenge in our game as far as the centre went was Will Chambers. And I love Will Chambers. Latrell made him look fucking silly for those 2 years. It is just, It's incredible what this guy's capable of doing. Throw on top of that, he pretty much didn't have a full preseason this year. He then had the injury through the middle of the year. He pissed off to America for a few months. It's been the complete opposite of the sort of stable year you'd like to see Latrell have. If he can have a full season next year where he gets a full preseason, he's ready and raring to go. You think about it, the next World Cup, he's going to be 28. He might be at his prime, maybe, then.
It's insane. The only centre that's ever really, Jimmy Roberts had a good battle, one off with him, but probably Joey Manu is the only one in the centres that I would say, but I would still go Latrell at centre over Joey Manu. But I still think Latrell has done more so far in the game in regards to these huge moments. That may be a bit unfair because you could say, well, Joey Manu hasn't had the opportunity to play Origin, so of course you're going to say that. But Latrell Mitchell, for me, as I said, he is just absolutely amazing. And it is time after time. Every time you think, oh, this might be the tournament where Latrell Mitchell doesn't absolutely explode. He'll have a bit of a quiet one. All the people that don't like Latrell are going to come out and put shit on him, as they always do. And then every time he just goes, nah. When I want to turn the game on its head, and people the thing is it's one thing to play a good game because you're just constantly always trying to play a good game. It's another thing to choose when you want to turn the game on its head. He chooses. It's like if I ever played a good game, obviously I'm not fucking Latrell Mitchell. It wasn't a choice. It was almost luck to a degree. Certain things happened, and then I got the bounce of the ball. Latrell Mitchell literally goes, the game is in the balance. I'm going to do something incredible. And he does something incredible. Thoughts on Trelly Mitt, Timmy?
Yeah, I think he, in that sort of 2021 Origin series, was probably a coming of age where he got to the point where he went for the first time, all right, and he'd achieved a lot prior to that series, but that he went, I'm not just as good as these big stars in the game. He goes, I'm better than them, and when I want to be, I can do whatever I want on this footy field. And we've been void of big games for Latrell since that point because he missed the final series in 2021 through suspension. He then missed the Origin series this year through injury. A couple of big finals games for the Bunnies this year, yes, but I just wanted to see him since that 2021 Origin, once he was I am, when I want to be, could be the best player in the world. And in this World Cup final, this was the big stage to do it, and he was just toying with them. When he wanted to score, it was get out of my way. You're not stopping me. And it was good to watch. And
mate, it almost had that feel throughout the whole World Cup. People have said, he's been quiet. The bloke outside him almost broke the record for most tries in the World Cup. Do you not think that has anything to do with the force that's inside him? Oh. Even if he doesn't touch the ball, you just know that defense is no fuck. We have to two-man Latrell. I'll take a punt on Fox. Maybe we'll manage to get him, but we have to two-man Latrell.
But think about it as well as not only was his winger essentially breaking records for try scored, he also did amazing things. Usually when the winger has a try scoring record or equals it, the centre is relatively quiet on individual stats. Latrell Mitchell not only set Adokar up a fair amount of times with some beautifully timed ball playing, but he also had huge moments himself, massive moments. I mean, the semi-final, he saved at least 2 tries with incredible defence. It's another part of his game as well that just doesn't get rated. His tackle efficiency for the World Cup, I think it's around 96 to 97% at centre. at centre. Like, this is a guy that didn't play centre all year. This is how talented this guy is. It is fucking, it's just such a pleasure to watch him play. And him and Fox, like, what an iconic duo. Like, they're the guys that when I have kids, when I have a young Beak or a young BKS running around, I'll be telling them about Fox and Addo Carr. Like, back in my day, you should have seen Bulla Fox, Charlie Mitt down the sideline. These young kids now playing, they got nothing on Fox and Charlie Mitt playing for Australia. Absolutely pleasure to watch. Pleasure to watch.
I think for me, Kempy, still my favourite moment of this entire World Cup when it comes to Latrell was when they played Lebanon, and it was early in the game, and the young centre Brad Morcus just make a one-on-one tackle, and Latrell was pissed off. And from that moment on, Josh Addo-Carr scored a try every 2 or 3 minutes. He scored a try himself. Like, it just shows the competitive nature. He's playing Lebanon. He knows he's the best player on the field by far and away. Someone makes a one-on-one. Someone does their job. That's it. Someone does their job, and you could tell how much it pissed him off. I love that about him.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And even the game, the World Cup final, he was close to, like, if Suwili doesn't slide across and hit him with his hips, which is fine, I got no issue with it. You got to try and stop a tackle. He would have scored another try purely off a hit up through front, like through forwards. Again, that's just him going, "Oh, boys, do you need something? Okay, you need something. You need to win a World Cup. Okay, sweet. I'll just I'll take care of that for you." It's fucking amazing. So another quick shout out I want to give is, the thing is, Australia is, I feel like individually they all played incredibly. The only thing that was missing was a bit of cohesiveness and obviously that errors in the second half. But I want to give a big shout out to RCG, because, like, what's the one thing that, you know, when you're playing Samoa, what's the one thing we all talk about? Fucking big boys, big aggressive boys. They're going to fucking dominate you in the middle, rah, rah. RCG took it off the back fence every time he ran the ball, did not take a backward step, and in my opinion, won nearly every contact he was in. That's like, to take it to a Samoan forward pack with Polo Papali'i. Fuck, it's a brave man. And RCG did that without hesitation. Cam Murray was incredible. I thought Paddy Carrigan had some great impact. Tino, for the small minutes he got, was super impactful. Nearly had 10 metres per run. What an incredible performance. Just quickly on so we'll talk about the 40-20. Really tough call against Samoa for sure. It was definitely a crucial part of the game. Do I think it would have changed the outcome? No, I don't think so. Do I think also there were a few head highs on Australia that probably got let go, at least one or two? I think so. So obviously, as a Samoan fan, I think you probably will be really pissed at the 40-20 not as the incorrect call. But in my opinion, I really felt there were calls that we probably could have got. Like, for example, Tedesco, I don't feel he knocked that ball on when we were attacking the line. So there were, I believe personally, there were calls that could have gone either way that I don't think the reffing was that bad. I've seen a lot of people talk about the reffing. I personally don't think. The call was wrong, and Samoa absolutely should have got that 40-20, but I do think that probably evened itself out over the game. Thoughts on that, Guru?
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I like Samoa. They obviously should have got the ball in that play, and fair. It would have made the game more interesting, I think. I think it would have been really good to see Samoa really put on some pressure early, but for me, there's no doubting that the better team won. So I understand people being upset on that play, but I mean, it is what it is. There was obviously a lot of talk about the Angus Crichton situation too. I personally thought the referees got it right. I don't know how much more could have been done on that play, to be honest with you.
Well, I was going to get to that. With the Angus Crichton one, why are we so quick to be talking about send-offs? Like, what? You used to have to kill a bloke to get sent off. Like, I understand that, Chanel Harris-Tavita, he is no longer in the game. But if we start judging the harshness of penalties by whether the bloke can continue to play or not, it's going to be absolute carnage. Like, they kept playing it in slow-mo. Of course, in slow-mo, it's going to look bad because we're all sitting here thinking, holy shit, he had about 10 seconds to decide whether to put his elbow up or not. That's the way, like, I think 10 minutes in the bin was fair. I think the 2-week suspension, I'm okay, I guess. I probably would have done a week, but whatever. When you watch it in fast motion, it's just a straight reaction because you think that you're going to get tackled. Like, there's no malice in it whatsoever. There's no intention to hit him in the face. I thought the calls for send-off, in my opinion, were outrageous, if I'm being serious. Like, send-offs used to be like fucking Adrian Morley off the fucking back fence, like killing blokes. Now all of a sudden raising a quick elbow and it just unfortunately landing right flush on a chin. Put it this way, if that lands like higher up or whatever, I don't think it's as dramatic. So I agree with you, Guru. I think 10 minutes was fine. I believe it absolutely was 10 in the bin for sure. But like send off, like far out. Timmy, what do you think about the Angus Crichton situation?
Yeah, 10 minutes for sure, mate. It was like, it would have been very controversial had he been given nothing, particularly as a result of what happened to CHT, which is it was a shame to see him go out of the game in that manner, of course, but a send-off would have been so over the top. It was a dead ball. CHT was going towards Crichton. Crichton sort of put his elbow up to defend himself. You nailed it there, Kempy, with the word intent. Was there any intent in it? Anything malicious? Not at all. He went to defend himself. You know, the slower the replay got, the uglier it looked, but you still, it's an enormous impact to lose a player for 10 minutes in a game. I think people underappreciate that at times, and occasionally we see, during that period, the other team score, or the team who lose the player score, and you think, it should have been a worse, should have been a send-off, but 10 minutes without a key player is enormous, so I think they absolutely got that one right.
Yeah, so... just some of the calls over the World Cup being a bit, some of the camera work. Oi, bro, I don't want to look at Malmaninga's face while there's footy on. Put it back to the footy. Like, fuck me. And like, I'm looking at Matt Parrish for fucking 20 minutes while there's a game on. Like, bruh, put it onto the footy. Something could happen. I don't want to watch a replay. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, seriously, it was driving me mad. Like, look, I love to look at the coaches. Who wants to look at the coaches? Like, what the fuck? There's here we have a coach doing nothing. Meanwhile, there's a World Cup game on. There's a fucking World Cup game on. What the fuck's going on? Jesus. Made me so mad. Sorry, boys. Had to get that out.
I enjoyed it, mate. I really did.
Oh, man. Now, let's talk about Samoa.
Hey, can I just say one thing before we do move on? Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. I think with this Kangaroos side now, as we said, I think it was 13 debutants in this squad, right? And you look at a guy like Cleary, you look at a guy like Latrell, who it's their first time that they've really been part of like an extended camp with the Kangaroos. Like, even if you have a look at Latrell in his career, he's played 4 test matches before this game that were sort of sporadic games here and there. He's never been in an extended form with these sort of guys. And I think it'll be very interesting to see when these guys go back to clubland, the improvement you see. I mean, you have a look at Darren Lockyer. He won his first. He played his first game for the Kangaroos in 97, 98. The Broncos win. Freddie goes on his first Kangaroo tour in 1990, 91. The year after the Panthers win their first grand final. Joey 95 with the Kangaroos that World Cup. Shock me. Newcastle win. 2 years later, Cameron Smith plays his first Test match. 2006, Melbourne. Cameron Smith wins his first grand final. 2007, like. The opportunity for some of these young guys, and especially, and some of these guys aren't even that young because of COVID, to be playing in their first test matches and have their first experience of being around 30 other elite players for 5 and 6 weeks and just picking up things here and there about their preparation and all that sort of stuff. There's going to be some players that it's going to pay huge dividends for over the next couple of years in the NRL.
Oh, mate, just to piggyback on that as well, the scary thing is for the rest of the comp, which team players absolutely fucking killed it? Penrith.
Yeah, exactly right.
Like, oh, God. Watching it going, oh, God. Stephen Crichton, incredible for Luai, incredible. Taylor May, I thought he was outstanding for Samoa in the finals. Brian To'o, Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin.
Oh, shit.
And this is where, mate, like I sit here and I look at this Panthers team and I go, they're losing Appy, they're losing Kickow. Fuck, how are they going to replace these guys? But then, off the back of this World Cup, it could be the time where Cleary goes to another level, Isaiah Yeo goes to another level. Like, you just named all the boys for the Kangaroos. Like, you got your Brian To'os, your Stephen, like what Stephen Crichton did at this fucking World Cup is unbelievable. He's going to come back more confident than ever. He's going to go, fuck, mate. I matched it with some of the best teams in the world in a team that people didn't have in our top 5 in the Cup. Like, they're going to come back with so much confidence, Penrith, and it might just be that the experience from this World Cup puts Isaiah Yeo and Nathan Cleary to a level where they're ready to take over, completely take control of this team now that Appy isn't there, which is a scary prospect, mate.
Oh, mate, we talked about Latrell being a big game, big moments player. Stephen Crichton has announced himself on the world stage as like, I am a huge game player. I mean, even in the grand final, to read that play from Benny Hunt, to risk you getting pulled up, like if Benny Hunt dummies there, it's most likely a line break. And then Stephen Crichton goes, just like Latrell on the other side. Oh, I need to, and it's a bit different. Like Latrell uses his brute fucking strength to change games around. Whereas Steve Crichton just goes, we've got a little play here, boom, 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 intercept, try 2 games in a row. I think he's also the first player since Brett Kenny, I think it was Random Stats Guy that brought this up, to score a try in 3 finals in a row. So
3 grand finals in a row. Yeah.
Like Stephen Crichton, as I said in regards to River, Penrith must be sitting there going, fuck me, please, like stop. You're putting yourself in the like 800 to 900K category. Honestly, maybe even $1 million if the club is desperate for a fullback. I probably would still hesitate at that, but I wouldn't. Put it this way, if I needed a fullback, I probably wouldn't hesitate at around 750 to 800 for Crichton right now. I really wouldn't. And someone made a really good point. Like I said, like I compared him to Israel Folau, and the guy in the comment section was kind of like, well, how can you say he's not better than Israel Folau at this age when you consider the fact he's won back-to-back premierships? You know, now he's playing really well for Samoa. I still think that Israel at this age was better, but it made me sit back and go, you know what? It's probably not as an outrageous. It's quite a reasonable comment. The only real difference is that Israel had quite a lot of impact in Origin as like an 18, 19-year-old, whereas Crichton, I think, is like 21, 22. But that's how this guy's playing, where you can compare him to one of our best athletes we've seen come through, best footy players. And although I still think Israel was further along in his career at this point, it's not a crazy comparison. That's how good Stephen Crichton has been. Even some of his defence on the weekend, just chopping blokes. Like some of his reads were incredible. Let's talk about Samoa then. Thoughts on Stephen Crichton, boys?
Yeah, and mate, just on that stat you brought up about Brett Kenny. Brett Kenny did that when he was pretty young. He was 21, 22, 23. Critter's done it when he's 20, 21 and 22. Not to mention the first grand final he scored was at left centre. The second grand final he scored was right wing. The third grand final he scored was right centre. He's done it in 3 different positions, which is just... and none of them might be his best position, which is the craziest thing about him.
Yeah. Timmy, thoughts on the Stephen Crichton comment hitting rugby league?
Unbelievable. He's just... His ability to pull a big moment out in big games is becoming quite freakish. And to see him lift again for this tournament for Samoa has been really special to watch. I'll be honest, I'm not as far along on the hype train as you boys, and that's with no... It's not probably a critique to Crichton, because I think what he's done at this age is incredible, but... And I found so pessimistic saying this because he's a freak, but when we're talking these big, like $800-900 million players, I do think he's playing centre for one of the more dominant teams we've seen in rugby league, particularly in NRL history. You know, there was the Origin stage this year where I think he struggled at. He'll be fine. Like, he's a young bloke. He'll learn from that. He'll have taken a lot from the World Cup, and he'll bounce back, and he absolutely could get to that point later on in his career. At this stage, like even the Izzy Folau comparisons, I don't have them very close right now. Again, that's not a knock on Crichton. That's Izzy Folau is an absolute freak, like a once in a generation just about. So I can't wait to see what Stephen Crichton does from this campaign, because he took a Samoa side that was not expected to go this deep into the tournament, and off the back of a lot of big plays, he helped take them to a Rugby League World Cup final, and they're first to do it. So very impressed, but I can't wait to see how he returns to the NRL level, and you know, given the opportunity, the Origin level in particular.
Spoken like a true Canberra Raider about a Penrith Panther there.
No, I agree in regards to your sentiment, Timmy, in regards to like Israel Folau is better at this stage. I just think that if you said that at the start of the year, I think everyone would have gone, bro, come on. But I don't think it's as unreasonable as initially when it first hits you of like, oh, well, you know, these two players are similar, and, you know, Crichton, like if someone has that opinion, I'm not going to sit there and go, mate, you are off your head. I will also say that the times that I have seen him play fullback, he's been outstanding, absolutely outstanding. I think as well, like some of the big moments he's had in big games, not including Origin. Like Origin, obviously, I know he struggled or whatever. But if you outside of that, he's had so many big moments. As I said, I would still have him around the 750 to 800 mark if you were going to play him at fullback. So, like, if I was a club that needed a fullback, like whatever club needs a fullback, like for example, let's say Ponga is going to be at 6. I would consider, if they had the money, to pay him 750 to come play fullback for the Newey Knights. But I agree with your sentiment in regards to Israel is still, in my opinion, further along at this age. I just got a repeat in my head that, remember I think it was in his debut series, apologies for talking about Origin again, the catch he did, and he put it over his head with one hand to score, Israel Folau. Probably the greatest put down of all time. So I'm so excited to see Stephen Crichton's development because, what's he, 22 right now? It's just, where does he play? I don't know. Like, is he going to be happy to be sitting in centre for the rest of his career, or at least for another 5 years? Maybe he will be. I'd like to see him at fullback. Get a full season at fullback. I'd love to see what he'd go. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying replace Dylan Edwards, but I think his tournament's been incredible. I think that he's on the path to really developing into a genuine superstar. Like, put it this way, like, would you say he's a superstar? I probably wouldn't put him in the superstar category yet, but I think he has superstar in him. What do you reckon about that, boys?
I don't know. Like, on moments, I don't know how you could call him anything else but a superstar. For a guy to have the moments that he's had in a short amount of time, I think it's hard not to put him in the superstar category. But when you talk about him, obviously just week to week, it's very hard as a centre, as a winger, when you're playing so many different positions to put yourself into that category. But like, name a guy at 22 that's had more big moments than Stephen Crichton. Like, and I understand where you're coming from too when you said, he's in the best side in the comp. Melbourne in 07 and 08 was a pretty handy team as well. Went to 2 grand finals, were over the cap. Like I think I understand where you're coming from, but I do think the gap between Crichton and Israel Folau, I really don't think there is a huge gap there, to be honest with you. And I understand the Origin stuff, but was he used properly? Did anyone agree with him being picked on the fucking bench? Like, I just don't think he's been given the right opportunity yet in that Origin arena. I mean, I know that we're growing up in a time where people want to hold any negatives they can against you. The reality is, every other big stage he's been on, he's dominated. Yeah,
and that's it, mate. And I don't think he's a superstar yet. I think the ability is definitely there for him to become a superstar. Whether he can do that at centre, he probably can. I mean, look, the bloke's won 2 grand finals already, but superstar moments, he's littered with them at his age, which is incredible. I mean, but like, if we're getting critical about a superstar, I know the game was done and won, dead and buried, but in the last couple of minutes when Latrell scored his try, he also shot off the line and opened up that big gap for Latrell to walk through. So if we're being critical, and that's what we do on this podcast, I still think there are some areas of his game that he needs to live before becoming a superstar.
Yeah, no, I agree in regards to, I don't think he's a superstar yet, but I absolutely believe that there is a good probability by the time he is 25, 26, he has become like one of the game's most electric superstar players. Yeah. And just to be clear, like, in regards to superstar, I like, there's not many superstars in the game. It's not like every team has a superstar in it. We're talking your Clearys, your Latrells, your Munsters, you know what I mean? That's the kind of level of superstar I'm talking that I think he has the potential to become. But you're totally right. Like he's still developing as a player. I would agree with Guru in regards to, I don't think the gap between him and Izzy is as big as people may think, but I do think that Izzy is clearly better at this stage. But it's a good conversation to have. And again, this conversation all comes from how impressed we are with Crichton. It's not negative at all. We're talking about, this kid is great. Like,
yeah, definitely.
The big moments this kid has had is outrageous. Like, if you only had the grand final intercept, that would be remembered forever. Like, in 20 years' time, there will be Penrith fans walking up to him going, bro, when you caught that ball, I was doing X or Y or whatever. He's had like fucking 3 or 4 of them now. It's just, it's amazing.
And I think that's the beauty of him, that the stuff he's doing isn't because he's the biggest, the fastest, the strongest. Like, he's just got touch that other people don't have. Yeah. He's just able to produce moments which, like, that's not going to go away from him. So being 22 now, with the way careers are going at the moment, like, we could still have 13 more years of Stephen Crichton. He could play till he's 35, which is, to think about what he's achieved at the moment, let's say he has 1 or 2 good more years in the next 13, that's an unbelievable career. And with the system he's in right now, if he stays there, like, his ceiling is sky high.
Just a stat for years.
Yeah.
I know he's been part of this team. He's won over 85% of his NRL games.
Jesus.
Oh, fucking hell.
And the reason why he's in that team is because in New South Wales Cup, where he impressed, he was playing fullback. And when he has time there back-to-back weeks, it's scary what he could do if he does get an opportunity at fullback somewhere.
And then just to add to it, is it evidently a gun goal kicker as well. So add that into and just making Penrith that little bit stronger as well. Like, of course, they've got a gun backup goal kicker.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, nah, they're so good. Now, some of the other Samoan boys, I thought Luai kept fighting all game. I thought he didn't look... I think a lot of people were hoping that Luai would go up against Australia and look completely out of place and look like a guy that, he played good against England, but look, he went against Australia and he was completely out of his depth. I don't think he looked out of his depth at all. I think he was probably one of their Samoa's most dangerous players with the ball. I actually like the score. Maybe it's because I was so nervous about winning. I don't know if the score reflects how many moments that were in the tipping balance where if Samoa just found a way to get a try when they were on Australia's line, then all of a sudden it becomes a bit of a tighter match. Outside of that, I thought Junior Paulo and Papali'i were immense, absolutely immense through the middle. They just came all day. To Samoa's credit, Australia's game plan was masterful. They said, "Oh, you got big forwards, do you? Okay, we'll cop the brunt of it for the first couple of sets or whatever, but we're going to stay right in around that ruck because eventually those big boys are going to fatigue. We're going to keep hitting you with White and keep hitting you with Valentine Holmes. Speed through the ruck. Make sure you get up, you get back off the ground." It was a perfect game from Australia because a lot of times when teams may come up against a Samoa, they might try to avoid the forward pack because it's fuck that. We're going to get dominated physically. But I got to give credit to Samoa. I think, although the score was 30-10, it's not like they looked like they were completely out on their feet. And the game plan against them, against the best in the world, was pretty clinical. And I thought Paulo and Papali'i really led that charge. They really led that charge. Also, Suoli'i, a bit of a quiet second half, but I thought in the first half, the fact that he can, we're talking about Australia here, the best in the world, just absolute guns in the middle. He was still skittling blokes up the middle and getting quick play the balls. It is scary to think. I mean, we talked about, Crichton, what his potential is. Suoli'i and what his potential is just, it's literally anything. This bloke could be anything.
I've got it trademarked. Watch yourself.
Yeah, sorry, mate. Sorry. I'll get a letter from your lawyers soon. If Suoli'i can really work on his ball playing, tell me his potential truly isn't infinite in regards to his place in the game over a long period of time. I thought his World Cup, he started a little bit rusty. Maybe in defence, he needs a little bit of work, but that's going to come in time. But his impact on the games, every game that he played, for a 19-year-old, is absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Thoughts on Suoli'i?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty evident. We're scratching the surface of this kid. To think about, if you imagine his Roosters pre-seasons at the moment, he's so young and he's their third choice fullback, so he's not getting many reps there. He's literally just learning this position on the fly at a fucking World Cup in a team that he showed up for his first game. They got beat by 60. They got absolutely slapped around. If name me another 19-year-old that his confidence wouldn't have been completely shattered off the back of that. Imagine him sitting there going, I could have been playing on the wing for the Kangaroos. Instead, I'm here getting beat by 60 for Samoa. And he just takes it all in. And I thought he was great in this World Cup. It's scary. I was saying to Timmy and Matty before, when I look back at, GI and Latrell, I watch them in their early years now and I go, look how skinny they were back then. it's frightening to think that probably in a few years' time we're going to look back at Suaalii, and at the moment I'm looking at him going, you're a fucking monster. But probably in a few years' time, once he really grows into his body, he's probably going to look super skinny now compared to what he's going to be, which is terrifying.
Oh, mate, when he gets that man strength, it's game over. Like, it's actually game over because, like, frame-wise, he's actually nearly as big as Payne Haas. Frame-wise. Like, I know he's not going to be as big as Payne Haas because, like, it's just a thicker body. But when they rolled up on the Dalian carpet and I turned around, I was like, I literally said on camera, I was like, holy shit, two large gentlemen. He's fucking massive. Like, super good looking too. So handsome. Can he get any more handsome? God damn. I think every mum around the world is like, how handsome is that boy? But seriously, talk about, like, if you ever wanted, like, the full package of a superstar, gun player, tough as any, like, a lot of these young guns that come through, they're, like, flashy. So you've always got some part of the footy community that's like, oh, yeah, but he doesn't do the tough stuff. Not tough. Whereas, like, this guy does the toughest possible stuff you can do, looks like a bloody runway model, super professional, going to have a crazy career ahead of him. Like, the amount of money he could potentially earn if he wants to from endorsements and that is going to be through the roof. What about, like, think about the symbol that Suaalii is for Samoa and rugby league. Think about the impact he is going to have or has already had as a 19-year-old picking Samoa off the bat. It is like, he's going to be there for the next 15 years maybe. And the amount of young Polynesian boys and girls that are going to say, I want to go down that route too, is absolutely incredible. Thoughts, Timmy, on Suaalii?
Yeah, mate, what a poster boy for whether he's at the Roosters or whoever, and then Samoa, the international team for the next 15 years, because he, if he isn't already not quite there, but he one day will be a superstar. I'm convinced of it. An absolute freak. And, like, what a system to be in for him in the position at the Roosters to play under James Tedesco, the Australian captain, one of the best fullbacks we've ever seen, Trent Robinson. It's a thing, Kempy, where I can't remember who we were speaking about earlier in the year, but tell him just to bide their time and wait on the wing. And I think it was someone other than Suaalii, but it might have been. He doesn't need to rush into the fullback role. He can play a handful of games over there at times for Samoa, for the Roosters, over the next few seasons, and just develop his game, fine-tune it. He doesn't need to be thrown in the deep end like he was at the World Cup at fullback. Develop that ball playing, develop his positional play under James Tedesco. He's going to be unbelievable there in a few years' time.
Oh, mate, 19. He's 19 years old, bro. And, like, he's not rolling into a Queensland side or an Australian side. Like, he rolled into a Samoan side that was, like, not even in the top four to a lot of people, and some people thought wouldn't even make the quarters, or definitely not the semis. And he's had this huge. I mean, it's what a story. Like, I would love to see a documentary potentially on, like, Tonga and Samoa's. Like, if they added, like, it was like a series or whatever of started with Tonga's rise towards what they did, and then follow it on into Samoa's rise. Like, oh man, just amazing stuff. Like, the impact such a small nation has had on rugby league has just been so good to be a part of. Like, how much energy has that brought into rugby league and excitement that not only is it Tonga now that, you know, is really up there first class, but it's Samoa too. And all the island nations now, like, the blueprint is there, boys. Like, the blueprint is there. You got to, if you can get together and get the players that you feel would, you know, want to represent their heritage, or, you know, feel that stronger connection to their heritage rather than Australia, if you can get them across, who knows what could happen? Who really knows what could happen? Anyone else stand out for you guys in the Samoan side?
Oh, I just wanted to say, Kemby, you know, you sort of touched on it before, but just with this Samoan side, like, I thought there was a number of times throughout this game. There's obviously, like, the 40-20 attempt that just didn't go their way. There was another moment there where it was 10-0 to the Kangaroos, and Samoa were going to score for all money in the right corner, and Josh Adokar came out with another big play, managed to slap it down. And it was right at a crucial moment in the game. It was 25th minute, Pat Carrigan comes on with Cam Murray, so the two of them come on the field. Josh Adokar knocks that ball down. As soon as that ball got knocked down, Mal Meninga said, let's get Harry Grant on the field. and they score 3 minutes later through Liam Martin. Like, if Samoa would have scored in that moment and just stopped a bit of that momentum of Cam Murray and Harry Grant getting on the field, we could have gone into halftime 10-6, and it's a completely different game of football. I know it's all ifs and buts, but Samoa were not that far off putting it together on a number of occasions. You then got to consider they started this game with their third choice hooker, who also got knocked out. So their first choice halfback, who's a 5'8", had to go and play hooker. He's now their fourth choice hooker. They didn't carry another one in this game. Like, they did have a few things go against them that I feel sorry for them about, but geez, they were brave.
Oh, mate, totally agree. And you have to remember, it ended up being, 5 of their actual starters that didn't, like, if you include Harris Tavita.
Yep.
It's about 5 of their actual starters that, so Josh Ally injured, Danny Levi gone, Manu Brown gone,
Tungo.
one of their centers, Tungo gone. Like put it this way, Australia have much better depth, but let's say we lost 4 or 5 of our starters. A lot of Aussies would be sitting there going, oh, well, we have reason to not be playing as well. Samoa got to a World Cup final. And I agree with you, Guru. I feel like, although the score was 30-10, and this isn't lip service either, like, I've got no reason to be like placate and be like, oh, it's all good or whatever. If you watch that game closely, there are absolutely they're tiny moments, but they're huge moments that swing everything. And you're right, the Addo-Carr situation. I also think Mal Meninga, it was a genius, a masterstroke of the selection of what he did, like to bring on Paddy Carrigan, Harry Grant, and Cam Murray against a big forward pack with Paolo Papali'i, the Samoan 4-pack. It's a masterstroke. How do you keep up with that? How do you keep up? It's the only way you keep up with that is scoring a bloody try, and Addo-Carr saved that for us. So I agree with you, man. Like, I know a lot of people will focus on the score, but go back and watch that match. It wasn't as lopsided as some people think.
And Kemby, you just mentioned all the guys that got injured. I just want to throw in there as well, for example, Samoa, they only played one test during this year. They had one mid-season test. If you take the Kiwis, for example, Joey Manu got man of the match in their mid-season test. Imagine if you took Joey Manu out of the Kiwis team, how much they'd struggle. We've got to remember, Josh Schuster, he killed it for Samoa in that mid-season test. He was their man of the match in that game. He didn't go to the World Cup either.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, there was even, I guess, and look, there's no confirmation on this, but there was even whispers that Payne Haas was considering. I don't like to say it. It fucking brings a fucking tear to my eye, but fuck, Payne, don't do it, baby. Stay with Australia, please. Please stay with Australia. No, I respect anyone's decision, whoever they. To be honest, it's quite an ironic thing because it's like I only want players playing for Australia that love Australia to death. Not to say that they don't love Australia, but love it so much that they cannot. Put it this way. I haven't bought any other soccer jerseys that are national teams because I'm not going to wear another nation's jersey. That's how much I love Australia. And so I want 17 other blokes or the squad loving Australia that much. Like that's, so it's like almost like, look, if you want to represent your heritage, like it's a win-win. Like we get a guy in there that wants to, that bleeds Australia and rah, rah, and you get to play for your heritage that you bleed and that you love. I never understood the people that like get upset at people that rah, rah. I get upset in a joking manner of like, fuck, how good would it be to have Victor Radley, Payne Haas ready to go, rah, rah. But at the end of the day, I want a bloke in that jersey that loves this more than anything.
And just to throw one other guy they didn't have that I haven't even thought of this entire World Cup, I keep saying they're on their fourth choice hooker. Jazz Tavanga was their starting hooker in the mid-season test. He was another one that they couldn't choose either.
Fuck. It just, every new bit of information we talk about when it comes to Samoa makes what they did even more incredible. Like every bit you bring up and you go, these are the obstacles these blokes have overcome. Like if this happened to Samoa 5 years ago or 6 years ago or whenever the last World Cup is, they get tailed up and bounced. They don't even make the quarters. Matter of fact, they only made the quarters last time because of some weird draw situation that happened?
Yeah.
They went in with like one win or something. What they have achieved and the impact they've had on the world in regards, I know obviously not compared, I'm just talking about rugby league and sport. It's been incredible. And the positive impact they've had for Samoans, like think about the happiness this team has brought hundreds of thousands of people that have been on cloud nine, proud as anything all week long because of what their players have done. It's just incredible. Amazing stuff.
And the best thing about this whole thing is that the next World Cup is only 3 years away. Outside of Josh Papali'i, the oldest player in this squad, I think, is Junior Bolo. He's 29. Oof. He'll only be 32. So essentially, this entire squad is going to be available in 3 years' time.
That's exciting. And then only other was probably Martin Tapau.
Marty, yeah.
But like, very important player for sure. But like, is he, like, I'm sure they'll be able to find someone that can step up to the plate and kind of push into that position. Royce Hunt was outstanding, I think, this tournament as well. So Samoa, like, if you could, obviously the perfect ending as an Aussie would have been like, we win 16-14, but like, that's fairy tale kind of stuff. I just think that regardless of the score, the way they carried themselves in that World Cup and the way the accounting they gave for themselves, it's almost a perfect ending from an Australian's perspective of they went out with respect that they deserved and had earned. And there's very little people that can say that they looked like they weren't supposed to be in that World Cup final, So great stuff.
I'll tell you what else I loved, Kempy, and I'm sure you would have seen it on social media. The Kangaroos, they celebrated, they had a good time in their change room. Then I saw a live from the Samoan change room, and Tino was sitting in there having a beer with the boys. Just unreal. Yeah. That's what the Rugby League World Cup's about. I just thought that was great.
Well, I mean, and that post, like, so we put this result up. I put the result up, and one of the, like, it must have been a Samoan put up. If only the real Uso had come out of retirement, and it was a picture of Cam Smith in a Samoan jersey. And that's like, I will say, like, I've the amount of Samoans as well that have just been like, all respect to Australia, just too good on the day, congratulations, but awesome for Samoa too. Been a really respectful way that it's all happened. So it's just so good for the game, and to be honest, like, I mean, we're not even talking about like Lebanon, like, who were pretty good this World Cup. They fucking played some pretty good footy. So it's going to be interesting to see the next World Cup. Hopefully Tonga gets more investment. Hopefully Samoa gets more investment. England will be back with a fury. I tell you what, if there's a team that's going to be like stinging the most out of any team, in my opinion, it's going to be England for next World Cup. Like, they are going to be angry.
I mean, and just having a look at this side as well, like, if everything plays out perfectly for them over the next 3 years, they could be running out the next World Cup with Junior Bolo, Tino, and Payne Haas as their front row rotation.
That's a scary prospect. A very scary prospect. Guys, don't forget, Bloke Soccer Jerseys, Wednesday, 6 p.m. That is 6 p.m. New South Wales time, 5 p.m. Queensland time. Also, grab a case of Bloke In A Bar beer. Beautiful, easy drinking beer. We've got a mid-strength, we've got a full strength. We are in every Celebrations, Bottle-O, IGA Plus Liquor, and Porter's Liquor in New South Wales and ACT. We've also got a store locator. We're in hundreds of stores across Queensland, New South Wales, ACT, and Victoria. You just go to blokeinabar.com, you put in your postcode, it'll show you the stockers. Plus, we've got plenty of merch. You go to bloke.shop, you can buy merch anytime now. So that's at bloke.shop. High quality stuff, looks cool, plus supports the platform, guys. If you enjoy all this content and you want to get a free sports network with your beer or a free beer with your sports network, grab a case of Bloke In A Bar beer from your local. It's Aussie spirit in a can. Plus, it's for blokes to turn up for their family, mates, and good times. So turn up for a bloke beer. Now, so we talked about player of the tournament, the Golden Boot. Joey Manu wins Golden Boot. Now, I want to check the tapes because I think I might have, did I predict Joey Manu? Maybe I predicted him to get player of the tournament, which is technically not Golden Boot, but I'm going to say it is. Thoughts on Joey Manu getting Golden Boot, boys?
Yeah, I thought it was great to see. It's obvious. I think that we need to be clear with this this award. Like, I remember when I was growing up, it was decorated as the best player in the world. That was always mine. It obviously is now the best international player. And I think Manu throughout this entire year, playing out of position, in position, whatever you want to call him, playing fullback, I think that without him, the Kiwis, who did they almost lose? Was it Fiji? Like, if he wasn't on the field, there's not a hope in hell New Zealand win that, in my opinion. So he was obviously man of the match, as I mentioned, during the mid-season test. So, and I think that's what can make it hard about this award that, for example, the Kangaroos, they didn't play a game during the season. I saw a lot of people say Jerome Luai should have got it. I understand where you're coming from, but this is also another problem that I have with this award. And I'm not saying that Joey Manu didn't deserve this award, but for example, if you look at Jerome Luai, who had a sensational World Cup, he didn't get to play in their mid-season test because he was playing Origin. So it sort of once again takes him out of calculations for this. So it is a bit of a tough award, but I don't think it's a situation where the wrong guy won the award by any means. So congratulations to Joey Manu. A really good knock there.
Timmy?
Yeah, Joey Manu, such outstanding reward for an unbelievable year he's had. Obviously, NRL-wise, fell a little bit short with the Roosters, but what he did as a position he hasn't played a lot of, fullback, for the Kiwis in that mid-year test and then across the World Cup, pretty special. Another one of these cases of just putting up such absurd numbers that because it's Joey Manu and he's been doing it all season, and every time he played, particularly in a key position at 5'8" or fullback, you're like, yep, of course, big numbers, sweet. But you often start to take it for granted, and Joey just does it each and every single game. As you said, Guru, without taking any shine off the award, there's a few criteria things that bug me a little bit, and the fact that they award it before the biggest game of the year in the World Cup final is ridiculous. Who the hell made that decision? Would it have changed the winner of the award? Maybe, maybe not, but outrageous.
If Josh Adokar scores another 5 tries in that World Cup final or something happens like that, I don't know how you couldn't have given it to Fox. If Fox would have got it, I wouldn't have been shocked, to be honest with you. I thought he was the best player in this World Cup by a country mile. Manu obviously played one more test than him during the season, but I think it's crazy that before the biggest game of the international calendar, we hand out the award.
I'd love to know the logic behind it. Why did they do that?
It's
Mate,
crazy.
Some of the decisions that get made around international footy, you go on, what is doing? The numbers, some of the camera work, as we've been through. I know it's not that all comes from anyone, but when you look at it as a whole, you're like, what is going on? Who is overseeing all of this? And what's bizarre is it seems like such obvious answers. It seems like, hey, that doesn't add up. Why would we give Golden Boot, so for players that play international footy, the game before the biggest game in international footy? Makes no how does no one in the office go, I got a question? That makes no sense. How come no one says that? Is it just one dude that's fuck it, we'll just do this? It's bizarre to me. Again, to take nothing away from Joey Manu, if Joey Manu gets it, for sure, he deserves it. I think he's in his mid-season thing. He ran for 411 meters or some shit.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with him getting it, but it's just to put it before the World Cup, it's just bizarre. Honestly, I don't understand it. But
I'll tell you what, we might have dodged one of the all-time great bullets that no player managed to get injured the other day, by the way, on that field. That was unbelievable.
Oh, my God. Mate, seriously. You saw when Crichton got that intercept, you see him, I think he saw, was it Benny Hunt or Munster maybe? Munster? And he veered away from into the corner and just put the ball down with his hand. If that's a normal try, he's literally diving across the line. But you could tell he didn't want to fucking go into the fence. I mean, Teddy dived nearly before the line and went into the fence. Anyway.
Even that slope, I can't believe no one. I couldn't. I mean, it is what it is. The field's the size it is, but miracle we got away with that without any injuries.
Now, boys, I'm loath to talk about it because it's just such a bloody... It's a shit fight. It's a good old-fashioned poo-slinging shit fight. Origin eligibility. Ugh. I don't even want to wade into this because it's I don't want to be robbed of these incredible World Cup situations, but also I'm a passionate Australian and Queenslander. I don't know what the answer is, Guru. Do you have the answers, Timmy? Guru? You have the answers or what?
Mate, I've got no idea what to do with this. It's just... I'm starting, and I was the complete opposite a few years ago, months ago, whatever. But I'm starting to think you just make it free for all. If you played in New South Wales or in Queensland before you were 13, 14, we can argue over that. Maybe you're just free to play Origin. I honestly, I don't know how to do it, mate. I mean, what are we going to do? Are we going to tell all the Samoan boys that can't play Origin? next year now after playing this year. It's kind of like the NRL tried to make their bet and they made it very fucking poorly, and now they have to sleep in it. It's like just blow the whole fucking thing up, I think.
Oh, Timmy, what are your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, look, I know there's a lot of different elements that go into these decisions around the national tiers for starters, but in the Origin eligibility, I'm happy for them. You know, obviously you get the exact rule and the exact criteria about what allows you to play for, you know, your tier 1 nation and play for the Blues or the Maroons, but say it is that you played for your state prior to 14 years old, junior footy, I'm happy for that to happen and then to go on and play for both your nation and for your state, because I don't see why you can't have an allegiance to both. If you've grown up in New South Wales and played junior footy there, well, you probably love New South Wales. If you have a Samoan background, well, then you probably love Samoa as well, and I think that's fine, and for me, I'm happy to see them play both.
Yeah, see, like, I was in that camp. Initially, I was in the camp of, like, let's go even, like, this is probably a year or two ago, let's go even stricter. Like, Queensland, New South Wales, like, you have to be not born there, but, like, let's go stricter. Like, that's how conservative I was on the whole situation. Then I came around to, like, you know what, I can understand, like, play for your state and your heritage. But Cam Smith brought up a good point, is, like, it'd be a very strange world in 10 to 20 years or whatever. And as we can see, the Polynesian players are just getting better and better and better. Imagine an Origin where there's four players that end up playing for Australia out of that Origin series or something like that, because that's a real possibility. Like, they're getting so good, and there's so many more coming into the NRL. I think, like, if you include Indigenous, I won't even include Indigenous because obviously they're Indigenous to Australia. I think they're at about like 40% or 45% of the NRL now, maybe even over 50% Polynesian players. And so that's the only, like, I was like disagreeing with Cam before that, but when he made that point, when he was like, there's a world where we watch Origin and most of the players don't play for Australia, as an Australian, that made me go, oh. And again, I don't know whether that's just me being selfish or me being like too patriotic. I don't know. Maybe I'm just the old guy in the room that's like needs to get with the younger crowd that see things differently. I don't know. That's why I just don't know where I stand on this. Like, I got no idea. I don't know what the right thing is, because, like, all of a sudden, you know, you've got like for example, Samoa beat England, but Victor Radley can't play for New South Wales again.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it, even, you know, and I know it's ridiculous that we were 4th ranked overall, but Daniel Tupu's able to play for New South Wales and then go and represent Tonga, who's ranked 2nd overall in the world. But Australia's ranked 4th, and the whole thing just makes no sense. And, mate, I kind of hate that you've said that Cam Smith said that, because once again, that's made me flip like a fucking fish once again. And I'm back to having no idea where I sit on this. But all I know is that what we do at the moment makes no sense.
Guru, it smashed me to smithereens when he said it. I thought I had my mind made up, and I was like, you know, the eligibility is good. Let the boys play, rah rah. And then he hit me with that, and it just exploded inside. I was like, oh man, as an Aussie, that is fucking pretty hectic. It's pretty hectic. And again, for, you know, if there's people from you know, other nations that listen, like, let's imagine, I think they're provinces in Tonga or Samoa. Let's imagine there's an age-old rivalry between two provinces or states or whatever they are in Tonga. And basically you had a bunch of, like, Aussies that had moved over there, you know, played for one of the states or provinces, but then went back and played for Australia. As a Tongan or a Samoan or whatever, I assume you would also be like, no, hang on a sec, that's a part of Tonga. You are Tongan. If you choose to be with Tonga, you know, blah, blah, blah. So again, I honestly do not know what the answer is. I just don't. Like, what do you reckon, Timmy? Has that smashed you to smithereens like Smithy did to me, or you're still steadfast in that?
A little bit, mate. But at the same time, let's say a player was someone with an Australian background was born in a province in Tonga, and then they grew up there their whole life, and then they come of age at 18, 19 years old, and they got picked to play in that local rivalry. Well, I think they can have allegiance to that province because they've been there their whole life, and then they can go and play for Australia because maybe their parents are Australian. And that wouldn't worry me, I don't think. I said, there's a lot to it, but it wouldn't worry me.
But, like, the example I give is, like, would it worry Tongans or Kiwis? Like if there was a North versus South Island, would the Kiwis be like, if you play for the North or the South Island and you've committed to New Zealand as the North and the South Island, and then you go and play for Australia, would they be like, well, that's unfair? Like not unfair, but like it's a part of New Zealand. You're a part of New Zealand now. I wonder whether that in the same situation, it's a tough one.
It's a tough
I really
one,
don't
mate,
know
yeah.
what the answer is.
It is a tough one.
Because like I agree with you in regards to, I absolutely believe. And a perfect example is your man Papali'i. There was this whole bullshit yarn about the New South Wales Samoans. They're not passionate about New South Wales. They care about is Samoa. Absolute bullshit. Because no one said shit when New South Wales won by a record margin with those Samoan boys in it. No one said nothing about their heritage. They lose, and all of a sudden, it's because some of the Samoan boys weren't as passionate. Meanwhile, Josh Papali'i, I dare you to question his Queensland passion. I dare you. You're a fucking moron if you do. And so that argument to me, I agree with you 100%. Are you telling me Victor Radley wouldn't come back and fucking rip and tear for New South Wales? Are you honestly saying that right now? It's a joke. It's ridiculous. So in that regards, I absolutely believe that you can be passionate about your heritage, but also be passionate about the state you play in. It's just from the selfish Australian passionate about the Aussie jersey part that just stings me a little bit when I go, oh man, could you imagine if like we only had 4 players playing Origin? Maybe that's hyperbolic. I don't know. Maybe it would be more. Maybe we're falling victim to the slippery slope fallacy where we think that, well, because there is X amount now, that means that there's going to be even more in the future. Maybe there's a good balance for the rest of time and we don't even have to worry about it. So I'm probably overthinking it. Right now, if I had to, like, with the what I saw with the World Cup and with the potential of growth, if I had to make a choice, gun to the head, right now, I would probably say the current rules ditch the tier system, as in everyone's tier 1, who gives a shit. And if you've been in here since you played footy all the way up to your 13 or before you were 13 and then all the way through to first grade, I would probably say, let's do that. But again, I'm not convinced. I don't know.
I'm all for that until I see Jason Taumalolo in maroon, then I go, fuck that.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Stuff it.
Yeah. No, thanks.
Oh, well, would Sonny Bill be available for New South Wales if that had been the case?
Yeah, he tried to. Sonny Bill played New South Wales 18s or something, and there was talk around him trying to play in the early days. And
Taumalolo moved to Townsville at age 13, so if we want to make it age 14 onwards, play on. All good, Kempy.
No. Taumalolo in a Queensland jersey next year, baby. Let's go. Get him in there. Us battlers, we never get the good players. Let's bloody go. Bloody Queenslanders, mate. But yeah, look, as I said, guys, like I think we all agree it's a very complicated situation. Much smarter minds than us hopefully will come up with the right decision, because what the Polynesians have brought to this game is absolutely incredible. Like, look, it's a given. Like what Australia has done for the game, it's in history books. Like, we don't need to talk about that. Everyone agrees that, Australia has built rugby league up into what it is. But the new energy that has been brought in by these islands and, Fiji, PNG, Tonga, Samoa, Cook Islands, all that, like that, I feel like that's such a space. If we want to expand the game, there are millions of people in these areas that already love the game. So the energy they've brought in has been incredible. But as I said, as an Australian, what a week of footy. What a win. We're world champs, baby. Stick that fucking fourth up your ass, baby. Who made that decision, eh? I want to hear you come out and say, I was wrong. Whoever said Australia fourth, how about you come out and say, I don't know shit about rugby league. How about you do that, baby? Woo! World champs. Sorry, guys. I had to get it out of my system. Fourth. Give me a break. Give me a fucking break. Anyway, boys, actually, for the listeners as well, quickly, Paul Gallen versus Justin Hodges on bloody Wednesday, tomorrow night. Who have you got, boys, in the rematch, Gallen's last fight?
Yeah, I heard Hodges talking today that it's going to be a bit of a street fight. He's been practicing a few dog shots. I think he said to get some revenge on Gallen. So, fucking in the most rugby league fashion it possibly could be. I'll take Gal though, mate. I think he goes out a winner.
What do you reckon, Timmy?
Gal's going to have to slip over on the corner post and smack his head and to knock himself out before the fight to lose this one, mate. It'll kill him.
Oh, wow. Very strong chat from you, gentlemen. Jesus. I was looking for some deep insight into the technicalities of boxing, and you've just gone straight to bloody knockouts. Look, I think Gal gets the job done. Hodges obviously got some power, but I think we have to remember last fight he'd already fought Hannah. And so I think Gal goes out a winner. I also think I think he's one of the toughest sportsmen Australia has ever produced, period, bar none. One of the toughest. What do you guys think? Is he one of the toughest all time or what?
Yeah, I think he has to be right up there. It's unfortunate the way that his career played out in the way that he was the face of that New South Wales team he just came up against a side that you couldn't beat at the end of the day. I think Paul Gallen's career would be looked on in a different fashion if he came along in just about any other fucking era ever, essentially. But I agree, mate. I think he's one of the toughest we've ever produced. I'll be the first to admit I know fuck all about boxing, but it just seems like he's had such a positive impact on the sport in Australia anyway. So, yeah, mate, I'd back it.
All right. I think that's... Oh, also, Tokiaho is fighting Lowe, I think, former NRL player.
Yeah, Jamin Lowe. So
that's going to be really interesting. Plus, got some really good Aussie boxers on not the prelims, but on the card, some like legit Aussie boxers. So make sure to check that out. That's No Limit. That's Wednesday night. No Limit. They put on the best cards in Australia. Seriously. If you haven't followed them on Instagram, give them a follow at No Limit. They are the best in the business in Australian boxing, in my opinion. Also, guys, we're probably going to take a couple of weeks break after this week, now that the World Cup is over. But we will be back before you know it with so much deep dive into rugby league chat. We're talking transfers. We're talking predictions. We're talking putting our foot in our mouth with some terrible predictions. We're talking about one or two that we get right and then we hold on to it for the rest of the 2023 season. So plenty of rugby league chat and sport chat coming your way. We're just going to take a week or two break. It's how good the World Cup. It's been great. What an incredible end to the season. Could you imagine if we didn't have the World Cup, how boring it would be?
Fuck that.
Jesus. Anything else, boys?
No, mate, all good, all done and dusted. Trial's not that far away now, just quietly. February.
What isn't it called something now? It's like some kind of super cup or something.
Pre-season challenge.
He could be anything
pre-season
cup.
challenge.
I'll be all over it.
The peak of rugby league. High quality footy. No errors. High completion. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Make sure to grab a case of Bloke in a Bar. Go to your local Celebrations, Bottle-O, IGA Plus Liquor or Porter's Liquor in New South Wales or ACT. Or we've got plenty of stores in Queensland. We've got a store located on our website. Plus, soccer jerseys coming out 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Make sure to grab them. Limited supply. 6 p.m. New South Wales time, 5 p.m. Queensland time. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.